"You're almost 30, Grace. Time to start paying rent," Dad had said that morning, waving a handwritten note like he was doing me a favor. Rent. For my own room. The same room I'd spent 5 years renovating with my own money, new floors, furniture, and even the air conditioner he bragged about to his friends. I stared at him, thinking it was a joke. But he was serious. And when I hesitated, my sister Danielle chimed in from the kitchen, smirking over her coffee. "Don't be dramatic, Grace. We all pitch in here. You're not special." I wanted to remind her that she hadn't paid a single bill since moving in with her 2 kids, that I'd been covering groceries, water, even the Wi-Fi her children watched cartoons on. But Dad's voice drowned me out. "It's settled. Rent's due on the 1st. That night, I left the envelope on the counter, $600 in crisp bills. 3 weeks later, I came home from work to find my bedroom door open. Toys scattered across the floor. My bed gone. A crib where my desk had been. Dad stood in the hallway, arms folded. "Danielle and the kids needed more space," he said flatly. "You can sleep in the basement." My throat burned. "You gave away my room?" He shrugged. "You're lucky to still have a roof over your head." That's when I realized I didn't. Not anymore. And that night, I made my decision. I didn't argue that night. I just stared at the empty space where my life used to fit, the shelves I'd built, the curtains I'd sewn, the quiet corner I used to read in. Now it smelled like baby powder and chaos. Danielle leaned against the doorway, smirking. "Don't look so upset. You'll survive. You've always been the dramatic one." Her words burned, but I stayed silent. I knew better than to fight in a house where no one listened. Downstairs, the basement felt like a punishment. Cold, damp, unfinished. The light flickered every few seconds, and the washing machine hummed like a heartbeat I couldn't escape. That night, I lay awake on a creaky cot, staring at the ceiling, listening to my niece's laughter through the vents. And then, I made a quiet promise. I'd never beg for space again. The next morning, I started packing the things that were mine. Not the house's. Not my dad's. Mine. The TV. The washer I'd bought when the old one broke. The coffee maker, the internet router, even a new fridge I'd paid for on installments. Every wire, plug, and receipt mine. By evening, my small apartment downtown was filled with boxes and silence. Beautiful, peaceful silence. Back home, I left only walls. I didn't slam the door. I didn't even say goodbye. But I left one note taped to the empty fridge. "Let's see what love costs without my money." By the next morning, my phone started exploding. First came Dad's call, 3 missed, 1 voicemail. His voice cracked between rage and disbelief. "Grace, what the hell did you do? There's nothing here. No fridge, no Wi-Fi, no washer. How are the kids supposed to eat? You need to bring everything back right now." I played the message twice, then deleted it. A text from Danielle followed moments later. "Wow. Real mature. You're punishing innocent kids because you're jealous. Grow up." Jealous. That word stung, the same way it always had since childhood. Danielle, the golden one. Danielle, the single mom with struggles. Danielle, who never faced consequences because she cried first. I stared at my empty living room, still full of half-unpacked boxes, and felt something unfamiliar, peace. For the first time, every single thing around me belonged to me. The hum of my fridge, the glow of my lamp, even the air felt earned. 2 days later, a neighbor from my old street texted me a photo. It was my dad's house, lights off, trash piled outside, and a handwritten note taped to the door. Power cut, bill unpaid. I didn't smile. I didn't cheer. I just whispered, "There it is." When you build a home on someone else's back, you shouldn't be surprised when the spine walks away. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine. To peace, to freedom, and to the silence I'd bought with my own 2 hands. By the weekend, Dad showed up at my apartment. No warning, just 3 loud knocks, like he still owned the right to demand my time. When I opened the door, he looked older than I remembered. His pride seemed to have melted in the July heat. "Grace," he said quietly, "your sister's at her breaking point." The kids can't sleep. They miss you. I leaned against the doorframe. They miss the Wi-Fi, Dad. Let's be honest. He sighed, rubbing his forehead. I know I handled things wrong, but you can't just leave us hanging like this. We're family. Family. The word rolled off his tongue so easily, the same one that made me pay rent for a house I already carried. I didn't leave you hanging, I said softly. I stopped carrying what you all dropped. His eyes hardened. You've changed. You used to be kind. I used to be used, I corrected. Danielle appeared behind him in the hallway, arms crossed. So this is who you are now? Cold? Heartless? I met her stare. No. Just done being your wallet. Her eyes flashed, but before she could respond, a maintenance worker stepped out of the elevator and greeted me politely. Morning, Ms. Hayes. Danielle blinked, confused. Ms. Hayes. Not Grace, the burden. Dad looked away, ashamed. He mumbled something under his breath and left. Danielle followed. The elevator doors closed behind them. For the first time, I didn't chase after them. For a few blissful weeks, silence reigned. No calls, no guilt trips, no doorstep drama. Until the day I received a letter. Not handwritten, but official. A notice of default. Addressed to my father. I almost tossed it aside before realizing. It was sent to my name, the house's actual financial guarantor. They hadn't made a single payment since I left. I stared at the paper, my pulse steady. This wasn't just financial carelessness. It was arrogance, the kind that assumes someone will always come to clean the mess. That night, Danielle called, her voice high-pitched with fake innocence. Hey, you probably got some letters by mistake. Could you forward them? The bank stuff. I smiled slightly. No mistake. You're behind on the loan. What? She shrieked. You're supposed to help us until we stabilize. Danielle, I said calmly, you call me selfish. So I stopped giving. She cursed under her breath, then muttered, you think you're better than everyone. I cut her off. No. I just learned what happens when the person you drain walks away. Before hanging up, she spat. You'll regret this. But regret never came. 3 weeks later, the house went into foreclosure. My name was cleared, my credit intact, and theirs destroyed. And when the neighbors whispered about how fast the perfect family fell apart, I didn't add a word. They built their comfort on my silence. I rebuilt my peace on their noise. By the time the bank repossessed the house, the cracks in their pride had turned into a full collapse. Danielle moved back in with Mom, dragging her 2 kids into a 1-bedroom apartment that smelled like regret. Dad, stripped of his self-appointed authority, started drinking again. Not enough to drown guilt, just enough to expose it. I watched from a distance, not gloating, not smiling, just observing. A week later, I got another call, this time from Mom. Her tone was sweet, practiced, like honey masking poison. Grace, sweetheart, we're planning a family dinner. Maybe it's time we move past all this nonsense, I laughed quietly. Nonsense? You mean when you all called me selfish and threw me into the basement? Silence. Then she sighed. We were stressed. You know how families are. No, Mom, I said gently. Families protect. Parasites drain. She gasped. Grace, how could you say that? Because it's the truth. Before hanging up, I said something that made her voice tremble. You raised me to be strong, and I finally am. Maybe you should be proud. That night, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea, watching city lights shimmer like freedom. Everything I owned, every lamp, every mug, every piece of peace, bought by me, guarded by me. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty for choosing myself. The collapse wasn't mine anymore. It was theirs. 2 months later, the guilt campaign began. Text from Mom at midnight. You know your sister's kids can't even sleep, right? They miss the big house. Voicemails from Dad. After all I did for you, you let your family live like this? And Danielle? Her messages alternated between begging and bitterness. You're heartless, Grace. You destroyed us. No. They destroyed themselves the moment they mistook my generosity for obligation. Still, I stayed silent until the day I received an invitation. A family reunion at a rented event hall. Curiosity got the better of me. I went. The air reeked of desperation disguised as reconciliation. My family smiled too hard, laughed too loud. Danielle rushed to hug me, whispering, "Thank God you came. We've missed you." On stage, Dad cleared his throat. "We're all here to remember that family is everything." I stepped forward slowly, my heels echoing on the polished floor. "You're right, Dad," I said. "Family is everything when it's mutual." I pulled an envelope from my bag and placed it on the table. Inside was a copy of the foreclosure deed and the transfer of ownership for my new apartment. I built something from the ground up. You can too. Their smiles vanished. The room turned cold. This wasn't revenge. It was reflection, and they finally had to look at themselves in it. When I left that reunion, I didn't slam doors or make speeches. I simply walked out, calm, composed, done. Outside, the night air felt cleaner, like the city itself was exhaling with me. Weeks passed, and I heard bits of their downfall through mutual friends. Dad filed for bankruptcy. Danielle's husband left her, taking whatever savings they had left. And Mom, the same woman who once told me I owed her my success, was now living in a rented room, telling anyone who'd listen how ungrateful her daughter was. Maybe I should have felt pity, but I didn't. I felt clarity. One evening, I stood by my window, holding the same set of keys that used to unlock the house they stole from me. Now, they opened doors I'd bought with my own peace. A message popped up on my phone from Mom. "We're sorry. Can we come stay for a while?" I typed back slowly, every word deliberate. "I hope you find a place where love doesn't come with conditions. Mine isn't available anymore." And I pressed send. Then I turned off my phone. The kettle whistled softly in the kitchen, and I poured myself tea, jasmine, my favorite. For the first time in years, my life was silent. Not the silence of being ignored. The silence of freedom. The silence of peace I built myself.